you doing? Oh, awesome, awesome. That's what I like to hear. Can y'all hear me good? Yeah, yeah. All right, awesome. All right, my name is Daniel Yanez. I'm an artist. I'm also known as Artist DIY. I would like to thank everyone for coming out today to hear a little bit about my crazy life. I was asked today to come speak about vision, and I was like, "You sure you want to hear about my visions? I am an artist, so." My visions are, in my life are what I consider delusional, somewhat ignorant, but hey, I'm creative and exciting. So let's see what made my life exciting enough to come and speak with you today. All right, vision plays such a vital role in our lives. It's something we often take for granted and ignore. Sometimes our visions are so ridiculous we kill them altogether. But not for me. I consider my path of being delusional, and it's been working for me for quite a while now, and that's how I kind of live my life. So, what are delusions? I did the classic, put the definition up there for you for delusions. Delusions are characterized by holding a false belief or judgment about external reality. They're held despite evidence of the contrary. And with that being said, let me take you down my delusional little life. I was born in 1985. I was birthed right here in Parkland Hospital. Don't remember much of my, of my babyhood, but I just, kind of hear stories from, my mother and, my brothers and sisters, and about how, we grew up poor, grew up fatherless. My mom had to work multiple jobs, and my sisters took a lot of care of me, mostly took care of me. It wasn't until about the age of 3 that I had my first memory of what I would consider um, the I kind of realized it was my first delusion. I would say. I remember, popping out of bed one day, um, jumping out and running down the hallway, and for some reason our front door was open, so I ran out into the sunlight. I ran out the door. I guess my mom was cleaning or something that day, and she had the door open. But I remember that day, and I was like, the reason it's significant is because, I jumped up with such unworry. I ran down that hallway, and I ran with, so much uncare. It's like I believed that everything was going to be good, everything was going to be all right, life was going to be easy. And we all know how much of a delusion that was, right? But I was a kid, I didn't know any better. But from that age, as the years went on, I realized more and more how, poor we were. I realized that, we didn't have toys, we struggled to eat. Um, I remember having to make, Christmas trees out of like hangers and coat racks and stuff like that. Really, whatever we could find around the house. And I remember, thinking about that time, and I remember, believing that something could be better for me. Like I didn't have to live my life like that forever. And I would say I would consider that, some would consider that as dreaming, but I really believed it. I believed it with all my heart. I believe my life could be different, and so I decided to live my life different from that point. As time went on, I viewed my life, I viewed, my family's life, and I realized, that my family's life was pretty tough. And, but I was always delusional about the outcome. I see my mom go through many relationships. I've seen many, many violent men in my life. Um, I witnessed, beatings. I witnessed, so many men disappear. Um, a lot of the men that were around, they either ended up in prison or they were out of prison. Even my mom's ex-husband at that time, when I was about, I would say about the age of 7 or 8, um, he was out of prison, and he had such a really, really bad, attitude. Um, he was pretty violent himself, and he ended up meeting his demise. He was murdered in 1993, I believe it was. And I remember, being heartbroken about it. But even like that, I was still focused on like my life can be better. I knew that I didn't want that for myself. I believed, and I visualized in my head, in my delusional head, I visualized, never being violent around my family or around the people I loved. I just knew that I could be good, and I wanted to be good. And that brings me like to my brothers and sisters. I wish my brothers and sisters had been, more delusional with me. Maybe they could have believed like me that they didn't have to be stuck in that type of environment. My brothers and sisters, they fell into jail, they fell into prison, drugs, and yeah, but they fell into prison, drugs, and violent marriages, and it was pretty tough. And they didn't have the delusions like I did, and I just wish they would have. They could have fought through all those stereotypes and all those things that poverty brought us. I didn't realize as a child, but as an adult, I should have been a victim to every statistic that was out there. I should have been a violent man. I should have grew up to, end up in prison. I should have became an absentee father. And although, I won't say I was violent, but as a teen, I was angry. And I remember that I fought hard to fight through that anger in my mind. And I felt like I eventually won. I also should have fallen to the stereotypes of not being educated as well. No one in my family graduated high school, not even my grandparents, not my aunts, not my uncles. But somehow I believe that I could figure it out. I believe that, I could like somehow crack this code of some sort, And, I figured that school wasn't hard. I think I finally figured it out. School wasn't hard at all. It ain't like I had to invent some new processes. All the answers had already been found. All I had to do was just look in this textbook, kind of like a cheat sheet. And that's what I did. You know, my family couldn't figure it out, and I did. Like I cracked the code. And that delusion alone of me cracking that code, gave me the confidence and everything I needed to graduate high school. I graduated top 10 in my class, and I got mostly A's, surprisingly. Oh, thank you, thank you. It also led to the possibility of, me going to college, which was awesome. That delusion was slightly, interrupted because my first daughter was born. I was barely 18 and in the middle of my first year of school. Um, but yeah, like I knew that I had to, pretty much stop college, and I had to, jump into, buying diapers, and I had to, go get a job, and I had to do all those things that required me to be a good father. And I began the delusion that I was a super dad, and I created a life that I envisioned in my mind. But I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Another thing that I found when I was there in college was, I found art, and that drastically changed my life. Besides my daughter, it was art. Having kids, art, two biggest things in my life. I remember stepping into that gallery for the first time, seeing the artwork on the walls, and I was just mesmerized. I loved it. I fell in love as soon as I walked in there, and then I looked at all the paintings, and I noticed next to the paintings that there were these little tags, and I started, going up to each one of these paces, and I looked at the tags, and I just see look at all the other, but what I saw on there that changed my life was that there was prices on there. And I was like, wow, I could make a living off of this. And I was like, wow, sign me up. This is kind of what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? I've always been, good at doing this type of stuff. So I had my, conversations with God, and, I asked him, if I was put here on this earth for a reason, you must have given me some kind of gift. And I thought real hard, and the only thing that I could think of was I was really, really good at creating something from nothing. I was good at, at creativity, and I was, really good at making delusions in my head, which I think is very important as an artist. And just from that, I started calling myself a professional artist. From that day when I had that conversation, I was delusional enough to say that God gave me this gift, and I was good enough to be a professional. And I look back at that, and I'm like, wow, what was I thinking? To look at my work and how terrible it was. I had no portfolio, I had no experience, but hey, I was delusional enough, and that was good enough for me. I remember saying, if I could just sell one piece, and then I could sell more. And so that's what I concentrated on. I made a whole bunch of artwork, and I put my artwork up for the first time at Traders Village. I don't know, are y'all familiar with Traders Village? Yeah, it's this little flea market that's right out here in Grand Prairie. And it was the first piece that I ever sold. I had like this huge piece, and I worked on it for, man, days, and I sold it for $50. I look back and I'm like, wow, that's way too cheap. But selling that piece was a high that I felt that day, and I've been chasing that high ever since. It's it's uh it's something that I've become addicted to. I love that feeling whenever I do, sell something or somebody takes notice in my work. It was a validation that I was on the right track in life. So let's see. Art is my purpose. Next is, all along I was doing all this, I was working on having more kids. This is- I have some amazing kids. I worked hard for them every day. They continue to push me, and all I can remember when I looked at them were the memories of having no one in my life that could be a father. But I knew I could do it, and when I thought about it, I just knew that I couldn't do that to them. They pushed me to show them life can be what they make it. They can follow their dreams and they can overcome anything. So I continued to push really, really hard. I just knew that I could be the father that I never had. So, with that inspiration for my kids, I created a new delusion, and that was to create my own art show. To push me a little bit closer to those successes. So I saved and I scraped together about $2,000 at that time, and I rented out an event space in Deep Ellum and created my first art show. I remember at the time having a vision in my head of, creating an art scene in Dallas. I remember, looking at other art scenes, and I just knew that, you know, it could be done. I just really believed it. I remember looking on Craigslist at New York and LA, and there was something happening almost every day. And I was like, man, we could do that here. I had the confidence that we could do it. And so that was it. I was like, I know I could do it here. So there's my delusion. And not only could I do it here, but I could do it easily. And I was like, yeah, exactly. But I did the first show, and hardly anybody came. I ended up losing about $1,500 that day, and I was kind of devastated overnight. I was beating myself up, like, what did I do wrong? But like what I got from it was, over the next few days, people started, calling me and sharing stuff on social media, and they were excited. They said that they loved the show and they couldn't wait to what I did next. And so just with that, I was like, had the confidence, I'm gonna go do more shows. Um, I didn't make any money from none of those other shows either, but I was building something that was vital to not only me, but to everybody that was around me. I was making places that for us to be us. So soon after that, kind of my delusion morphed and transformed. I realized that renting venues was very expensive, and that I could open my own space. I can start my own business, and so that's what I did. I believed in it so much. I quit my job. That's scary. That was very scary. But I again, I was just ignorant. I thought it was going to be easy again. Like everything in my life has always been easy in my mind, and that I could do it just because I knew I would put in the work. And so I did that. I quit my job, and to be honest, you'll never know anything until like you put yourself in that much of an uncomfortable situation. You you never really understand your capabilities until you have to do it, and you'll do things that are way out of your comfort zone. You'll do them in order for your family to eat. I mean, that's what I was looking at. I was like, I got to do the things that I have to do to make sure that my kids have food in 2 weeks. you know. And let me remind you through all this, no one in my family graduated high school, much less try to start a business. I had no one to ask questions to. I had no rich uncle to borrow money from, and I knew that if it didn't work, I wasn't gonna be too broke to try again. And so I went to my handy dandy notebook, which is my phone. I got on the internet, I got on YouTube, and I started searching everything that I needed to know about opening a business. And at that time, I didn't have no helpers, no workers, no volunteers, nothing. And so I had to learn so much of it, just on my own. But from that, I got to figure out how to form contracts, form LLCs, opening bank accounts, DBAs. I learned certificate of occupancy, site plans, key plans, parking analysis, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So if any of y'all have ever opened a business, all those terms probably sound very familiar to you. But from all that, I did it. I did what I had to do, and the idea was is that I just do it, and if I just do it, all the rest, I'll just learn along the way. And so I jumped right into it. The first year was the hardest. I learned some of the most valuable lessons that year. And shout out to anybody who's here that went to the basement those first years. I see a couple people out here. And, a big shout out to Chris, my first landlord. Um, he helped me out so much on rent that first year. I should have gone out of business that first year, to be honest. It was really, really hard, but that's how I learned my first lesson. And my first lesson in business was you're gonna have good months, and you're gonna have bad months. But it's all about how you prepare for your bad months that makes you successful. It was a hard lesson to learn. I was in that space for about 6 years, and my vision came to life. We were doing stuff whenever we wanted. I pretty much created my own world. Um, no more no's and room to grow. That's what I always told myself. Some of those shows we brought out over 500 people a night. Really, really big shows. Those were some of the best that I did with my homie Ray. We really made a huge impact on what you see nowadays in the art scene in Dallas. We helped hundreds of artists over those 6 years. Um, a lot of them became amazing artists themselves, and a lot of them sustained the art scene with their amazing curations and shows. That building eventually got sold, a new owner, and we were asked to leave by the new owners. Gentrification is real, guys. But a new delusion filled my mind. Still a business and community. What if I took what we did of the basement and take the community to the next level? So I opened up a new business. The name of this business was Elevate, and this space was one of the first creative co-working spaces that focused on creatives in the area. We would create space where artists could, come up with an idea, cultivate it, and bring it to the real world. And I felt like that was very important for artists. We needed a space to do that. Um, Along with that, we also opened up, a couple years later, another art gallery, which is called Code Soda. And I opened that with my friend Mike. And I felt like we needed a gallery, to complete the cycle. After their ideas were created through Elevate, they can go and either test their ideas or sell them, and help them, fund their next idea or sustain them as artists. Elevate prospered for 6 years, and that building ended up getting sold and doubling my rent. And so again, gentrification is real. Happened to me twice already. But I was kind of stuck in a predicament at that point. Um, and all along I'm running these businesses, I'm still like hitting my art really, really hard, doing everything I got to do as an artist. So business, family, artist. I was juggling all these different hats, and but I had to, kind of like I had to sit back and try to figure out what I was gonna do, and I felt that I needed to make a choice of continuing Elevate and eventually a choice of continuing Coach Soda, and I had to make a choice of pursuing my art to the next level. Um, I had those conversations with God again, and I thought about it very hard, and I decided to follow my art success and dedicate all my time to it again. And it was the best decision I ever made. Um, and at the same time, I figured I'd helped enough artists that they can go and carry the art scene to the next level. They can probably take it way further than I ever could, and that pretty much brought you to where I am today. I closed everything, and it's almost been 2 years since I've closed down all, both businesses. And I concentrate on my art, my family, and myself. Um, and also, it's probably been no, not that probably it has been the highest grossing years of my life. It's been amazing, and not only financially but in happiness as well. Um, so let me bring you up to speed where my delusions have got me in life. I'm a great father of six amazing children, the two oldest in college, and the next four on their way. Um, I've been part of their lives every day, and I never left, and I choose not to ever leave. I love those kids. They're amazing. I moved out the hood. I have like a little mini ranch with my studio in the back, which I love. It's so peaceful. Big time part of the artist's dream. You know, they said I would never make it out the hood, but I did. I'm no longer poor, but not that I'm rich. But I know I know many people who would pay anything to have what I have, and that's priceless. I graduated high school, got 2 years of college, and that's enough education to bring me to this point in front of you all. So I guess I did okay. And to be honest, that's way more than anybody else in my family, except for my daughter, which is a junior in college now. I have opened 4 meaningful businesses, businesses that made a difference in my community. And even though they're not open, you can still feel the ripple effects from it to this day. I'm a successful artist. I create like I've always envisioned. I haven't had a day job for 15 years now, and I've been creating professionally for 20 years, although some people may argue not. But this is my delusion, not yours. So I appeared on TV over a dozen times, including the Associated Press, Fox, ABC, NBC, you name it. I've been on their networks. I've been published in multiple magazines and news articles, D Magazine, CEO Edition. I've been in Arts and Culture, and one of the most proud ones I've been in Time Magazine, which is awesome. And that's just to name a few. I've been in so many. Um, and I also thought it was pretty cool that, this happened many years ago, but you can Google my name now. That's pretty awesome. I don't have a Wikipedia yet, but anybody out there that knows, y'all make it happen. um, I worked with so many amazing companies. I worked with Dallas Mavericks, Fossil, Raising Cane's, Oakley, Fruity Pebbles, Meow Wolf. I worked with Boys and Girls Club. I worked with the Juvenile Center, and I've worked with so many cities, from City of Dallas, City of Mesquite, City of Grand Prairie. The list just goes on and on. I'm truly blessed. So, what are my delusions now? Well, that's a tricky question because perhaps I'm ignorant to what my delusions are. Maybe it's because I don't recognize them and I don't really know them until hindsight. But I still believe that I could be a great artist. I believe the world will want my art. I believe my kids will change the world in ways I can't imagine. I believe I'm still doing God's work, and I also believe that I changed somebody's idea and their views on delusions today. And I also believe that that person will come back in my life at some point and we'll create something awesome together. So to wrap this up, I would say, if you're gonna be a visionary, be the craziest type of visionary you can be. You know, uh, be delusional, but be delusional until you no longer are. And I think that's the key. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
No,
Y'all,
thank you.
that was
Thank you.
just amazing. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes for your questions. So please raise your hands if you have a question. Back there.
Um, you mentioned that you didn't have the support group that a lot of people have, like from your family, but were there any influences, whether in your family or around your family, that catapulted or encouraged your path?
Yeah, so I would have to give a huge shout out to my mom. I mean, like through all of that, that was not only my life, but that was her life as well. And through all of that, I saw that she never gave up. She didn't, leave or throw us away like my father did. And so I respect that, 100%. You know, I don't mention, but like throughout the years, after I graduated and attempted my college, she went back and got her GED, and she went and did all these amazing things as well. And so like looking at her and realizing what she went through in life and how she just kept on pushing and kept on pushing, man, that was all the inspiration I needed.
Anyone else? All right, right there.
Can you tell us your vision or goal for your art?
Um, right now, I think it's my goal and vision is really a lot of self healing. Um, throughout all these slides, you can see a lot of my art pieces, and you would think because of the colors and because of the patterns, you think excitement and all those things, and that's really what I'm trying to push, with, my artwork. But underneath, there's, a lot of, sad undertone. There's a lot of meaning behind all these pieces that really are helping me heal, and that's really my focus is to kind of think of all those things that I've been through in my life, and what y'all heard today is only, very, very top level of some of the stuff that's happened to me that, maybe I'm not really comfortable about talking about yet. But all those things help me get over those things and maintain a happiness and a level of comfort that I'm able to get through life. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. I'm Kazina. So my question for you is, I know parents say they don't have a favorite child, but thinking about your artwork, what is your favorite piece that you've produced over the last 2 decades? What would
Oh,
you
wow.
say is a piece of art that is top of mind in terms of your favorite piece?
I would say right now my favorite piece, and it's a mural, and I did it inside of Meow Wolf. And so a lot of people don't know that the mural inside of Meow Wolf is dedicated to the founder of Meow Wolf. He recently passed away, but looking at that mural and hearing his story and realizing how our lives kind of connect, like he, left, Dallas and went to New Mexico, started this new career, um, successful, and ended up finding his way back to Dallas. And I remember my story of, I didn't mention in there, but I lived in Alabama for a little while, and I migrated out and we came back here, and somehow our stories came together. He might not have been alive, but our stories came together, and so I was able to depict in that mural how our lives connected, with not only Meow Wolf, but the visions that we saw, the maybe even the delusions, of him being able to realize that he could do something greater than himself. And I thought it was really, really heartfelt, and I felt a connection whenever I made that piece.
Thank you. We have 5 more minutes. Okay. Hello, I'm
Hello.
Erica. Um, so, do you have any tangible tips for people that are trying to make art but can't really or aren't sure of how to start in terms of like developing a style and like, you know, creating that actual vision?
I think just off of the question, you're on a good track. Just do it. I mean, you already know that you want to create a style, and that's the first step. You got to understand that you want to develop something, and as you work on it more and more, it's going to develop whether you like it or not. You're going to go somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But my biggest, what I tell everybody is that Nike got it right. Just do it, and you'll learn along the way. You'll figure it out, and that's what I've been doing my whole life. And it just kind of works itself out. As long as you don't give up on whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, it works out. I don't know if, it's a blessing from God, energy, whatever you want to call it, it works out if that's what you're meant to do.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Daniel, whenever going has gotten tougher for you, you've always, I think, just gone ahead with your delusions. But my name is Sonia, and my question to you is that, is there anything that you would have done differently?
I get asked that a lot, actually, and there's literally nothing. I mean, I'm very, very thankful for the things that I've been through in my life, good or bad. They've, like I say, they've chiseled me into what I am today. It made me tough where I needed to be tough, and it made me, you know, use my heart whenever I needed to use my heart, and that really built me, into the man I am today, and I'm very thankful for it. So I wouldn't change anything. I'm very content with how my life turned out and the things that I went through.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One more question. All right.
In our family, we are encouraged to follow in grandparents' and parents' footsteps, but I'm not in the military and I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not an attorney, and I'm in a very non-lucrative nonprofit. Do you encourage your kiddos to join you in the art world, or do you encourage them to do something else?
I encourage them to do whatever their heart desires. Um, like I tell them, like the whole point of me following my dream was so they can follow their dream. I wanted to lead by example. I wanted to show them that it was possible, and I felt like that was something that was missing out of my life. I didn't have no one to look up to and to say that, oh, he did it, I can do it too. You know, even people in my hood, which I call, like the only people to look up to there were, drug dealers, gangbangers, stuff like that, and that was what I saw every day. The people that were doing good out there were not really good people, and so I had to, make a decision that, I'm gonna do something that my kids can see and mimic, and that's what I did. So I hope that they follow their dreams. I know like all my kids love art, which is great, and I'm happy about. But I tell them all the time, just do what they want to do.